Don't forget to follow us on social media for beautiful food and inspiration.
Bitch, make me famous.
Welcome to Downballot. We do this show live every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Also simulcasting to other places that I guess they don't matter, although there's somebody in the YouTube chat, which is amazing. You can support this project. Just go to echoplexmedia.com, click the support tab, find your favorite way. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr.
Yo, and this is the councilman as always. You can find me at the back of the line at the post office.
Post office busy these days?
You'd be surprised. It's actually pretty slammed, at least around the lunch hour when people be mailing shit. But yeah, as far as PO boxes, no, it's kind of dead.
Well,
I'm actually going to discontinue my PO box this year, I think. It's the end of an era.
Well, we have some local news to cover, or maybe this is more coverage of the local news. Anyway, what do we got for leading off?
We're all praying for Oakland, producer Dave.
Oh, well, let's see what's going on.
Praying for the city. Literally, Oakland faith leaders and the NAACP are joining forces and praying for God to save the city as businesses continue to leave after repeated thefts and break-ins. NBC Bay Area's Valina Jones explains why they feel this is the only way to see true change.
We've seen protests and recall attempts as Oaklanders continue to be frustrated over the level of crime and businesses leaving the area. Now the faith community is coming together in prayer.
We come lifting up the city of Oakland, Lord. We come lifting up the leaders of the city, the mayor, Lord God, the city council.
Through the power of prayer and petition,
God, we ask you to touch parents that they might begin to raise their children where their children would not rob, steal, and kill. God, we need you.
Oakland pastors, the NAACP, and community members tired of crime and businesses leaving the area, including major chains like In-N-Out and Denny's, are praying for divine intervention to restore safety to the city.
We have to invoke the presence of the Lord because our leaders don't know what to do. If they did, we wouldn't be in this predicament. So when you get into a situation where you don't know what to do, pray. We know prayer changes things.
Those prayers come as frustration is building. Oakland NAACP President Cynthia Adams believes there needs to be more transparency and partnership with the city to see an impact.
Come together, tell the truth to the community what's going on in the city. Stop leading the community in the wrong direction. Let them know what's actually really going on.
With eyes closed and hands raised, community members attending the service are praying not only for safety, but added resources, education, job opportunities, and a generational shift in morals and mindset to provide those responsible for crime alternatives.
We need to have the church and the city come together so that we can reach our youth and adults, and so to help us change the morality of our society.
We need the churches to help plant the seeds in that robber's heart, in that murderer's heart. They don't know, in that child's heart, that child, that 12-year-old that got a gun, he don't know why.
A prayer for a safer Oakland, church members believe, will only happen through faith.
He's going to heal the land, and I believe that. And I just want Oakland to know that we're here, and we're going to keep praying.
In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
I'm glad we're doing this story now and not 15 years ago when I was like the most obnoxious atheist walking the planet.
Same.
I mean,
are you more of an agnostic now, or how do you?
No. I mean, I'm still an atheist. I just don't care that much. It's just not that important, actually. Like, you know,
like, yeah, you get a little older, and suddenly it's like it's not that important. And that's kind of why you're an atheist in the first place, right? It's not that important.
Right. Going back to the roots of meh.
Yeah. I do believe in the power of spirituality. I think that you can manifest. The things can be manifested. With good vibes and good faith, but generally speaking, it's always the actions of people that manifest things. And if anything, prayer helps folks focus or gives folks a release that their minds can focus on other things, and maybe absolves them of a pressure that's undue on them in making decisions, things of that nature. But anyway, I don't know that prayer is going to solve all of Oakland's issues. I mean, Oakland has issues just like any other major city has issues, and Oakland has always had major city kind of issues. So I don't know that this is going to resolve any of that, and I don't know that Oakland's necessarily going down the great hole in the the earth or the Brea tar pits or whatever and sinking into the abyss. I think that Oakland's going to be fine. I think San Francisco will be fine. I think San Jose will actually be fine, despite what everyone thinks. So I would advise folks to, yes, pray, be faithful, and have faith that things will work out, and just be good. Be good on your corner. That's all.
What if God just decided that there shouldn't be a Denny's or a In-N-Out Burger in Oakland, like through whatever divine method that an omniscient and omnipotent being would make those decisions?
Maybe God is trying to tell y'all to eat at home, eat some good home cooking, and don't go out and fill your face with doubles and moons over my hammy, because it's not good for your health. At least not every day.
So the problem with this is that, like, it's not the prayer so much. It's like this sort of doom and gloom message. And like, I think like in like, not just in a city, but in like societies and cultures, things just sort of ebb and flow, right? Things change. They get what we would say call better or call worse. And I don't know, maybe just fucking ride it out, man. Ride it out. It's probably going to get, things are just fucking probably going to get better. I don't know. Maybe they get worse. I don't even know. Like, is it bad? Is it like 90s bad? It's not like late 80s, early 90s bad, but also I like wonder, was that, now that I think about it, was that shit all ginned up because they got bored with the fucking satanic panic and so now it had to be crime? Like just regular crime?
They had to use something to scare people so that they didn't have to build BART all the way down here, right?
Right. Yeah, maybe it was maybe it was just San Jose waging a propaganda campaign to keep BART out of San Jose by calling it Moakland. That was what stood for Mobile Oakland.
There's always someone to gain. There's always some money to be gained somewhere, somehow, or some power or some modicum of game to be gained from ginning things up and from having that clickbait headline or just constantly focusing on the negative side of stories, right? And the more salacious side of stories, right? Because the good side tends to be a little more Melba toast, right? Even though it's good, you think you'd want to share good news. So I think that's just a standard across local news in general. And I mean, you'd have to say, on the whole, American society, at least, I don't know, over the course of the last 250 years, has become moderately more inclusive on, whatever you want to call it, welcoming, true to its values. We're still a long way from there, and you can ask any Black person that, and they'll tell you for sure where we're at right now. But yeah, over the course of time, the arc does bend to betterment, I think, and it has. It's just a question of, to me, it's always been a question of the nexus point. Like, are we bending towards good at sharp enough of an angle that we'll be able to cut off like destroying ourselves, right? Or just not being able to sustain this civilization, right? Is this civilization going to survive itself? That's the real question. Because I think we could get to a good place, but I don't know if we're going to be able to make it with the climate and racism and violence and genocide popping off all over the place.
So I've put out this hypothesis a couple times. I think that there's like an ambient floor basically of like crime and violence, and I think that things have been on a long enough downward trend that fucking ball or whatever might just be bouncing off the floor.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Sometimes it bounces a little harder off the floor than it was doing, last time. And I just don't know if like we're, because you're never going to get to a place where people aren't doing bad shit or whatever. So like, how far down does it have to go before the only place to go is up?
Yeah. You just nailed it. I'm sorry. We were in the middle of a city council race here in my district, and a mailer just came out the other day, a door hanger just landed on our door the other day, talking about how the candidate was good for public safety and had a little graph of property crimes in San Jose over the past 3 years, literally like 2020, 2021, 2022, I think, or was it 21, 22, 23, right?
Right.
Just the raw numbers of property crimes. The graph was a V, right? So 2020, we're reading from 2021, 2022, 2023, right? And it highlighted, the property crimes jumped 14% from 2022 to 2023, but it's pretty much the same number it was in 2021.
Right. So what if at the bottom of that V is the fucking floor?
And that was in the middle of the pandemic. It was the same number as it was last year, right? So it's not as though that there's some sort of massive COVID shift either happening here. So San Jose is a fucking safe city is what that says to me, right? San Jose is a generally safe city. And like you said, it's exactly what's happening. We're bouncing off the bottom. Oh, we're not the safest city in America this year. We're 4th. Oh, we're 7th. Oh, we're 3rd. Oh, we're the safest city in America again, right? And it's like no one can claim credit for it. It's just in general, we're a safe city.
Back to Oakland. Oakland is like a more sort of dynamic place overall than San Jose. It's an older city. It has more history. Yeah. And San Jose's got a gap between the rich and the poor, but San Jose is a much richer city than Oakland is, like just overall. And so I don't know, it's more gentrified. And so it's just maybe the bounces off the floor in San Jose are going to not be as, big as maybe the bounces off the floor in Oakland. And again, this is just a hypothesis I have. I don't know. Have we hit the bottom? Who fucking knows? But it's like,
God knows.
I don't know, like, how much lower this shit can get, right? Because like, you have major cities in the United States where there's like a couple dozen homicides now in any given year. And it's like, yo, that's fucking amazing. If you would have told somebody in like 1989 that there were going to be major cities in the USA with 23 homicides, they would have shot you. Right. They would have added one to their already incredibly high homicide rate in 1989.
It kills you. East Palo Alto, 0 homicides last year. So
right.
Good on them, right?
And so I just wonder. Go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I was going to say the only person who really knows is God, right? So
right.
Maybe they're asking the right person. God only knows.
What if God comes back and is like, I've lowered the homicide rate in America just in an unreasonable amount, and none of you are even happy about that. Listen, I can't be everywhere all the time. I had to make Taylor Swift win the Super Bowl. I don't know what to tell you. I've been busy. Yeah. I owe Xenu 500 space bucks, and I'm trying to raise money for that. Everybody, you just got to give me some time here.
Travis Kelce, help me. Yeah, no, San Jose also benefits just from having been a bedroom community for a very long time. It's a history. It's very long history as a city. I mean, it's the second oldest city, in Pueblo in California, behind only Los Angeles. But it's also been a bedroom community for a long time, right? It was an agricultural community and suburban.
When I say city,
more
I don't mean like that somebody named it San Jose. I mean, Oakland's been a city, what we think of as a modern city.
A city.
Like a modern city longer than people have thought of San Jose in that way. That's what
correct. Oh, absolutely correct. I mean, San Jose hasn't even thought of itself as a city yet. I don't think. We're still working on that. We're in like our adolescence when it comes to being a city. We're still figuring it out, right? What's this thing down here and how does that work?
They're like, how big of a suburb can we make with how boring a downtown is like the goal of San Jose.
Yeah, correct. There was actually, we can go into it another down ballot. There was actually a city manager whose whole goal was to just annex land and just build, not build the city out, but just grow the city out, right? And just have land. And that's what led to the sprawl that we have down here in the first place. So, and the services that are just too far flung and not ample enough to serve such a big city. If we were smaller, if we were like 2 or 3 cities, might be, or if the exurbs were sort of built into other cities like Campbell and Cupertino and Santa Clara, then maybe we'd be in a little better shape.
Anyway, we're going to move on to winners and losers where there are no winners. It looks like the San Francisco supervisor, or one of the San Francisco supervisors, thinks we're going to put the opiate crisis and the libraries are going to help. Now the libraries are great, but I'm curious how the fuck they think the libraries are supposed to help with the opiate crisis.
Can read about treatment. I don't know. Let's find out.
And happening today, one San Francisco leader will unveil his proposed initiative to involve public libraries in combating the city's drug crisis.
Today in the Bay's Ginger Conejero-Saab joins us live with more on this latest proposal, what it all means. A really different take on trying to address this huge issue, Ginger.
That is true. Good morning, Laura and Marcus. It is a different take. It's called Read to Recovery. It partners with San Francisco Public Libraries. It is also being proposed by Supervisor Matt Dorsey, who sees this as a key element in the city's fight in combating drug overdose deaths. Now, we don't know too many specifics or details on Read to Recovery just yet. We are set to learn more later this morning, but this is not the first time that Supervisor Dorsey has talked about the significance of literature in that road to recovery. Supervisor Dorsey has been open about his own recovery from addiction. He previously told the San Francisco Chronicle that access to books about recovery are key. Literature, he says, is foundational in programs. Now, last year, the San Francisco Library began a recovery bookcase, giving away materials and books on recovery. Now, today's Read to Recovery program announcement will include library leaders who are expected to speak to the popularity of recovery recovery books and why these, they say, have been flying off the shelves. This comes weeks after learning the city recorded a tragic number of overdose deaths last year, 806 to be exact. That is the most on record. The end of 2023 saw a glimmer of hope, as health officials in the city called it, with a decrease in the number of deaths from December 2023 compared to the year before. But the latest medical examiner's report has recorded 66 deaths from accidental overdoses in the month of January alone. The announcement today is really looking to take a different unique approach to this, and hopefully one that I think the city can really gather around and say, hope it works, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people are hoping that we see the effect that it has on a lot of folks in the city. So hopefully this is one step moving forward in the right direction. All right. Thanks, Ginger.
But you just said that like he didn't have any specifics. He's like, oh, it's crazy actually is that nobody who ever has been struggling with substance abuse has ever thought of reading.
Or like finding resources at the library to better themselves, right? Oh my God in heaven. Yeah, it just smacks of dumbassery from elected officials, and it's no surprise it's Matt Dorsey, the former cop, now turned SOMA representative, who's pushing this. Just the sort of reactionary, knee-jerk, old school thinking about drug addiction and rehab, and also just like you said, coming with the old idea again, right? The other thing that people are already doing, right? Like they've discovered it for the first time. This is the thing that it's one of my biggest pet peeves about local campaigns and local elections, because so few of us out here in the world pay attention to local politics, right? And what's actually going on at City Hall, what policies are actually coming out, even though they impact us immediately, like almost daily. We don't really cover and think about it all that much, except on this show. Yay. And because of that, candidates and politicians are able to get away with, throwing things out there that are already happening, or just a sort of old hat, if you know what's going on, right? And stuff that's not anything new. They just make it sound new, and they make it sound new to the voters, and they win elections, and then they don't really do much because they didn't really propose much new in the first place. So they kind of sit there and collect dust. And that's not really fun. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves about local elections. I really wish that I really hope that we'll pay more attention in general, because that way it'll help us hold these candidates accountable for what they say.
Yeah, I just don't know, like, what the fuck is the library supposed to do? I don't understand. Like, the library is already providing a valuable service. They stock a bunch of books. They obviously don't make any money. They're the library. So they're like a public service where you or I, if we heard about a book and we're like, I don't really, maybe the book's only available in hardback and it's a little expensive. Maybe you go to the library, pick up that book and not have to pay fucking $50 for it or whatever. And then you take it back to the library and somebody else reads it. I don't like, what the fuck, what else are they supposed to do? I mean, I know they have like programs and, you can go see talks and, they have, little classes and stuff there, and that's great. But like that stuff's like bonus material, right? This is like, I don't know, like what the shit else is the library supposed to do.
They can provide resources and access to resources for people who are looking for like, housing or jobs or things like that nature, even health services. When it comes to mental health or drug addiction, right, these are very specific issues that, folks are not necessarily going to just walk into a library and think, you say, I'm a drug addict. I need help for drug addiction. I'm going to look online for resources for drug addiction, right? No, that's just not how it works realistically. Depending on the city, I don't know how San Francisco runs. San Jose actually has quite a few social programs running through its library, like you said, classes, workshops, seminars, even direct service programs, right? But nothing like this, nothing like drug treatment. That's a whole specific thing that needs to be under like county, or in this case, county and city, San Francisco public health, not the library. The librarians are not equipped to deal with whatever he's thinking they're going to deal with, right? I don't know what you're right. I have no idea what they're thinking this is going to be, and what kind of resources the library are going to provide to folks who genuinely just need a bed. They need a place to call a home. They need a place to be able to chill the beans and get to a space where they can confront their addiction, right, with help from professionals. And that's not going to happen in the library.
Right. And like, to be like, and sometimes like you start asking the library to do too much and it's a problem. Like I remember, this is nothing really to do with what we're talking about, but Madison Star Moon decided to have a chemtrails conference at the library, and I feel like that's outside the scope of the library. And I think like, one of the things she wanted to do was to like, she's like, oh, I need an armed guard in case the shills show up, and the library is like, the fuck you do. Like,
well, anyone can rent the community room. Not everyone can get security to guard the community room. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But I'm just saying that like, it's a pretty open place that'll like generally kind of let people do what they need to do as long as they're being, reasonably quiet and not bothering anybody. And I don't know, like outside of that, they could have a, maybe they already do. Maybe there's a room where you can get pamphlets about like government programs. Maybe, maybe, I don't know. Can you register to vote at the library?
No, you can do all these things. You can find all that, stuff there. I just don't know that. I'm just thinking of the person who is in that space, right? That they're addicted to drugs, they're high on drugs, or they're experiencing mental health issues, right? I just don't know that that's their first instinct is to go and seek it out, right? Like that we hear a lot about how, we need to, take these folks and put them into treatment, involuntarily. We need to consign them to treatment because they don't know how to handle themselves, right? So now we're going to entrust librarians, folks who are not trained to deal with this, and ask them to do it. No, like out of respect to our librarians, I'll say no, because they're just not, that's not their game. That's not what they're trained to do. They're very well-trained individuals, librarians. It takes a lot of training and a lot of licensing and certification to become a librarian, but they are not trained to do that. There's other people who are trained in the health space who are specifically trained to deal with these kind of issues, and they should be the ones dealing. So if you're going to embed those people in the library, great. But I don't see how that makes any sense at all when you already have a county health department and facilities that are built for this kind. I mean, you don't have the facilities yet. Got to work on that. But you have the team, the staff, and the department, and the infrastructure to handle it much more so than the library does, I'm guessing.
Now, if you could reimagine some kind of community or city or county resource, like almost like a business park, right? But resources, and the library is there. I could imagine that you'd have like I would have make sure not to put the fucking jail there. Fucking the library to jail pipeline doesn't exist yet, and I'd like to not put them in close proximity to one another. But like if there's, you got the library there, and then there's, I don't know, shelter and public
health clinic. Yeah, absolutely.
You put those all in like a central location in a downtown or an easily accessible area, then that's great. But the library is still the library, and they're not, they're not to be confused with building 17C or whatever, where, you go pay there's a real easy place to pay your parking tickets over here too. So you don't got to go, schlep down to City Hall or whatever, just little stuff like that makes it easier for people to interact with the government and get like resources they need. If the library is a part of that, great. But like the library doesn't have, you can't just build all this shit into the library. The library already using their space for books and like conference rooms and like other resources and administration for the library and stuff. And if that's what this guy's proposing, fucking great. Yeah, put other resources around the library, but you can't just fucking make the library the one-stop shop for whatever's bothering you and fucking isn't working out for you in your community. Because like you said, the people that work at the library, like some libraries are heavily staffed by volunteers, and like,
yeah.
And so no, you can't just be like, also now you gotta, if somebody has is living with a substance abuse problem, now that you're the first point of contact, and the librarian's like, the hell I am. I'm
not a licensed social worker. Like what the F, right? No, absolutely. You cannot put this on them at all. To be fair, he has said that it's, they are part of, but he said that they're a key part of the solution, but he did say they are part of the solution. That being said, he hasn't exactly revealed what the rest of the solution is. So at this point, this is all we know. We'll keep tabs on this as it goes along. But having come from a background where I know a lot of folks who work in libraries and a lot of librarians, they're actually very exciting and fun, loving people. They're not what you would expect. I know that they would not be excited about this and being asked to take this on, especially when there are professionals out there that deal with it on a daily basis. But leave it to a cop to think very simplistically about how to treat drug addicts.
To be fair, at least he's not suggesting at least he's not suggesting more of the responsibility for the mental health problem go to the cops, but that doesn't mean the library is the right place either.
True. That's very true. He doesn't want to defund the cops.
He probably does want to defund the library. Somebody in chat was said something that I thought was a little bit interesting. They're like, what if this is like a stealth plan to go after the library system? Because they're like, well, look, we tasked you with this impossible task and you couldn't do it. What are we paying you? What are we funding the library for?
Just books. I can have books at my house. There's a library in front of my neighbor's house, the little library. I just take books from that. I learned how to cook from one of those books. Anyway, well, we'll keep tabs on Mr. Dorsey and all of his lovely proposals. We'll see if he has another announcement about the continuum of care he's proposing.
And up next for winners and losers, we have poll results from the kinds of people who would willingly answer questions that are asked in a poll about the city. So let's see what happens here.
The city is headed in the wrong direction. That is a result of a new opinion poll sponsored by the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce. And that could prove problematic for Mayor London Breed as she seeks re-election. But as NBC Bay Area's Sergio Quintana shows us, measures that the mayor is backing do have strong support.
The new poll results were released during the Chamber of Commerce.
Damn, that room was white like Scientology.
Breakfast in San Francisco. In Mayor London Breed's keynote address, she said the city is rebounding despite the negative headlines plaguing San Francisco lately.
Now we are on the path to somewhere. Crime is dropping. Our population is growing. New ideas are being born.
The drop in crime she referred to comes from new data released by SFPD last month, showing crime dropped overall 7% last year. But the Chamber of Commerce's annual City Beat survey took the pulse of 500 likely voters, and unfortunately for the mayor, 72% of those polled say the city is headed in the wrong track. But looking at polling data over the last few years, Rodney Fong with the Chamber says fewer people surveyed shared that point of view this year.
Traditionally, the sentiment is that San Francisco is not going the right direction. However, this year we're starting to see that people are optimistic about San Francisco.
At this event, the Chamber of Commerce also released
except for that 76%
polling on what voters feel about several local issues affecting the city. That includes questions about 3 measures the mayor put on the ballot. 53% support Proposition C, which would make it easier to convert office space to other uses. 61% support Prop E, which would loosen restrictions on police pursuits and allow access to surveillance cameras and drones. And 61% like Prop F, which would require drug screening for people accepting cash assistance from the city.
This is a really pivotal moment for the city, and I think voters feel that as well. And they want a clean city. They want a city where businesses can thrive.
There's organized opposition against 2 of those measures. The ACLU has come out against Prop E, saying it rolls back hard-fought gains on police reforms. And housing advocates warn Prop F could affect people's ability to keep subsidized housing if they lose cash assistance after a positive drug test or refuse treatment. In San Francisco, Sergio Quintana, NBC, Bay Area News.
So I'm going to outline my problems with this poll. 1, sample size of 500, very small. 2, this sample is 500 people who picked up their phone at all, which is a self-selecting group. And then it's also 500 people who didn't immediately hang up when they found out it was the fucking Chamber of Commerce calling them. So this is like, I'm not saying the poll is necessarily inaccurate, but that's the makings of a poll that is going to be skewed to a specific kind of person.
Well, I mean, anytime the Chamber of Commerce or any special interest, labor, business, otherwise, environment, does their own polling, it's going to be skewed just simply by the nature of polling. You're at the way you're asking questions, the words you're using, the hypotheses you come into the poll with, right, that you're trying to prove, often dictate how the poll is contrived and how it's carried out. As far as the sample size, 500 is actually, I hate to say it, it is actually a pretty decent sample size for a city like San Francisco, size of San Francisco, for a poll of this nature. Generally 400 to 500 people is about average. Yes, it is folks who, in this case at least, pick up the phone. I've taken a lot of text, I've gotten a lot of text polls lately, or at least you get a link in a text and it sends you to a web-based form kind of poll. So I don't know that they included that in this poll or if it was just phone calls, but they are getting more savvy with contacting people, right, in other ways, not just phones. So it's not just anyone picks up a landline. That being said, it's also likely voters, and likely voters in primaries, especially like the one coming up, tend to be older, tend to be more people who do not necessarily pick up the phone, but have the phone line still, right? And you talk on the phone, even though I don't really like to talk on the phone at all anymore. So that being said, that space, they got an accurate enough number. The way the poll is skewed is just how it was presented, how the questions were phrased, and we don't know that at all, right? We have no idea. But I mean, it's anytime you're over 70% wrong track, that's significant. It doesn't bode well necessarily for the folks in charge. What London Breed is doing, which is politically genius in some ways, is pivoting herself to fit the moment, right? So she has been in charge, and people think things are on the wrong track. However, she's the one proposing these new changes, right, that are supposed to fix things. And as you can see, 60% of people support the fixes, right, which are her babies. So if she can tie herself to those things, she can pivot. She can picture herself as part of the change, right, and not part of the problem. Because that's usually what you end up in a situation with, low favorables or low faith or bad wrong track, high wrong track numbers, is the incumbents are in trouble. But she's trying her best to play the non-incumbent card and to be the agent of change, and we'll see if she succeeds.
I also have this thought that maybe you're never going to get more than 50% of the people in any given city to say that the city's on the right track. And it's for a variety of fucking reasons, right? Like
the grass is always greener. No one is ever satisfied, right? It can always get better. We're all, like we said, we're arcing towards better, but even us, we know things could be better in certain ways, right? All that being said, I almost never answer that question as wrong track. I almost always say either, generally the right direction or no opinion, because I don't necessarily feel like we're ever on the wrong track entirely. Takes a lot to put us on the wrong track.
So up next, we're going to follow up on a story we've been keeping track of. There are two more San Jose cops named in the racist text scandal that we've been following. And I see video from a deposition here. And if there's one thing I really like, it's a fucking deposition. So let's take a look at the audio. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this here.
Details are coming to light in the racist text scandal involving San Jose police.
An officer accused of shooting a black man at a restaurant resigned after the text messages first came out back in November. And now KTVU has uncovered the identities of two more officers involved.
KTVU's Joey Horta has the latest developments.
Former San Jose police officer Mark McNamara is accused of excessive force after shooting
that guy's face just looks like excessive force
4 times on the steps of a taqueria in March of 2022. Green had just confronted a gunman inside the restaurant and disarmed him. Attorney Angel Alexander is representing Green.
But this one officer who has said not just once but multiple times that he hates black people ended up shooting the black male.
KTVU has reviewed a copy of the unredacted texts which identify 2 more officers accused of texting about the shooting. A message from Officer Brandon Letemplier to McNamara a day after the shooting reads, "Yeah, bruh, I heard it was you right away. I was like, oh, my boy ganked some fool. F yeah, LOL. McNamara responds, your turn, LOL.
What?
Letemplier is still with the department, but he's on paid administrative leave.
I fucking hope so.
Message from Officer Billy Haggerty to McNamara reads, why don't black people have any sense in their head? In reference to Green's lawyers.
The way that policing is done has not been equal. It has never been equal, especially in communities of color.
As KTVU has previously reported, McNamara used the N-word in dozens of texts to both officers.
You know, to actually hate something, and beyond having the feelings of hatred, but to make those feelings actionable, to take action on those. It's terrifying.
McNamara would resign in November when the police department released his racist text messages about the shooting. Haggerty left San Jose PD in 2020 and is seen here being sworn in as a cop in Eagan, Minnesota in 2022.
Hi. Dana Dwightmeyer. William Haggerty. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear.
But Haggerty would resign from his Minnesota job in November of 2023, 6 days after the text came out. Neither Haggerty nor LeTemplier are on any police decertification list, meaning they can keep wearing a badge.
We can no longer say this whole one bad apple scenario, because the end of the phrase is one bad apple spoils a bunch. To me, it looks like the bunch has been spoiled.
When we spoke with Keon Green in November, he had no regrets about confronting the gunman inside the taqueria, which led to him being shot.
That's how God wanted it to play out. And I'm still here. I'm still doing what I love to do.
Well, Green is suing McNamara and the city of San Jose. We did reach out.
Hell yeah, he is.
And to the police station, along with the officers union, but have not yet heard back. Joey Horta, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
So this is kind of wild. You commit a crime or you have a felony or whatever. It stays on your record basically for the rest of your fucking life unless you fucking somehow manage to get it expunged. And even so, if you're like you have interactions with the police, they fucking that expungement only goes so far and it follows you around. If these cops can just fucking while out and there ain't no fucking permanent record that follows them around.
For sure, you can get a job in whatever, Minnesota or someplace else, no problem. Shit, fuck Minnesota. You can get a job in probably an adjacent city, no problem. Who knows if McNamara is going to end up on a force anytime soon? Probably. I completely agree with the attorney. Like the bunch is spoiled. We need to do some serious overhaul here in this, and that's just it's amazing. The gall. I mean, it's not amazing. It's not even surprising anymore, given that we know how pervasive this mentality is. But just to see it in black and white, no pun intended, in texts, between officers, just so blunt. Like not even like. Alluding to or making allusions or aspersions or metaphors. No, it's just like black people are stupid and I want to kill them.
Right.
Like, and you should go shoot one too. I just got mine. You should go get your. You've got to be kidding me. These people should not be like banned from, serving. That's having those thoughts should be, or just putting that in writing should be a prosecutable offense. You're such a goddamn idiot on top of being a bigoted bastard with a gun, right? Like you should be able to go to jail just for being stupid enough to put that in a text. So it boggles the mind. I'm glad they didn't talk to their attorneys because I don't know what I would say if I was their attorney. You'd be
like, well, everyone is entitled to a criminal defense, and I will provide the best criminal defense that I can under the circumstances for my client. What else do you say, right?
I'll see you later after I cash this check. I don't know what you would do. That's why I couldn't be an attorney, or at least a defense attorney. At some point, you're going to have to defend someone who did do the shit. And you're going to have to try, your whole job is to try to get them off as lightly as possible for doing the shit, even though they did the shit. So how can you sleep at night with that kind of profession? I don't know. A lot of people do. It makes good money.
Not for nothing. It's been a while, but I forget what show it was on. It was really interesting. Somebody interviewed a cop from Germany and English. People in other countries speak English. He was kind of talking about American policing, and the cop from Germany seemed more angry about the American police than like the American leftist host of the fucking show. Like cops in other countries just don't fucking while out like this.
They don't. Shit, man. Cops in Britain don't even carry guns.
Right, you got to call the special cop.
Yeah, and yet they're able to freaking keep the peace. So go figure.
This is a fucking outrageous. Like the only place that maybe is like this is like fucking Singapore or some shit where if you spit your gum out on the street, they fucking run up and arrest you. But like
fucking Iraq, Iran, it's funny. It's all the places that we talk about on our high horse about, we're so much more elevated. We have democracy, blah, blah, free society. Give me a break, man. Tell that to this guy who got shot 4 times at La Victoria after disarming someone and ending a potentially fatal incident, right? Tell that guy who's now, by the way, saying like, oh, I just, I praise God that I'm okay and I just want to get back to living my life. Like, God bless his soul. I know the attorneys are telling him to just be cool. We're going to get our money. But like, man, it'd be really hard to be forgiving.
Yeah, I'd be
in his space.
I'm not, I'm a white guy, and if I wrestled a gun from somebody and I got shot for it, I'd be like, "Fuck them pigs!"
I'd be a
from
little
that
pissed off,
hospital
yeah.
bed, right?
I'd be a little pissed off.
I'd have to have the doctor
Shit,
come
man.
in and be like, "You got to calm down for your health. Got to chill."
I took a rubber bullet, right, and I'm fucking raging pissed for the rest of my life at all cops. So like, I can't imagine actually being shot like 4 fucking times after doing a public service like that. I was just sitting around, whatever, man. I'm not some sort of like, champion of civil rights and social justice. I wasn't. This guy actually did something to like help his fellow people, and then get shot. Oh man.
Imagine if he was just appropriately angry, just not even like extra. Not if he wasn't even if he wasn't just appropriately angry in all of his
stereotypically
comments.
Angry. Yeah, exactly.
But he also, think about this too. He's certainly aware of the biases against not just black men, but also black women. When black people get angry,
the angry black person.
People don't think of it as righteous the way that they often think of white anger as righteous. It's because people are bigoted. And but if that guy was, I'm just telling you, I'm not saying that guy has to like while out or whatever, but if he was like appropriately angry, and every time they interview him, you're like, he's like, I risked my fucking life to wrestle a gun from somebody who might have shot random people just trying to get a taco when they were drunk after going to the club, and then the fucking pigs opened fire on me. He's like, I am very fucking angry. Like, he's like, this is the craziest thing that could have ever happened to me in my entire life. I can't fucking believe it. Fuck them pigs. I would have been like, you get him. But then people would have been like, well, that black man seems awfully angry.
Well, wait, let's wait. His attorney will get him his money and his settlement, and then he can pop off all he wants. That I think now there's a time and place for that, and he knows it, and I think that's good to see. And his attorney knows it too. So let's hope he gets his money, and the city has to pay out even more because they deserve it. Speaking of which, the city trying to like kick some unhoused folks off some land to build a dog park. I love dogs and all, but
this is the worst kind of gentrification. Let's see what's going on here.
Hey, paradise.
It is possibly the largest dog park in the South Bay, the dog park at Columbus Park in San Jose, and it's ready to use by the dogs. But for some reason, it's still closed. Official kickoff has been scheduled a couple of times, only to be canceled. A lot of it has to do with some issues with the homeless living in that park. NBC Bay Area's Robert Honda joins us from the still unopened park to tell us why yet another grand opening was scratched.
Great. Why don't you have a grand opening for a nice fenced off, safe place for the homeless to camp while you figure something else out for them? This seems like the obvious solution here.
Adjacent to the dog park in Columbus Park, there's plenty of space.
A surprise. Asbury and Spring Streets are almost completely cleared of cars and RVs people have been living in. This is what it looked like just last week as police posted notices giving vehicle owners 72 hours to vacate. The streets are where the new 5-acre city dog park is located.
Why not use a lawnmower? What the fuck are they doing?
Say there's been a lot of emotion and tension.
I have a puppy myself, but it's just not that important. So I don't think that it's right. Him and dogs' lives over human lives. Like it shouldn't be that way.
In fact, that tension may have led to an earlier delay in the dog park opening. City leaders tell me the recent stabbing death of a homeless man here canceled their plans to open the park sometime after this last sweep. Homeless advocates contend the anxiety created by the city sweeps is partly to blame.
They're definitely treating dogs better than they're treating people. They're just, if you looked at it as they're creating like a human puppy mill over here, just cramming a bunch of people into a small space to make a giant space for dogs.
But San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan has led a move with other city leaders to make public space, such as the dog park, as well as city trails, more open to the public. He says the city
depends on who you think the public is.
To help unhoused people relocate to safe, dignified places and find alternatives to sprawling encampments.
I have to defer to our city workforce to make the call on when it's really ready to reopen. We've got to be able to have safe
ingress, egress, places for people to park, to be able to access this public space.
That could be a huge factor. There are still a lot of vehicles as well as the Riverside encampment nearby, and it's hard to predict just how much has to be cleared out before the general public will come to the park. In San Jose, Robert Honda, NBC Bay Area News.
So I'm serious here. That was like they got a nice big open space. They got a little fence around it, so there's like one or two ways in, one or two ways out. Okay, well, the dog park isn't working. Why don't you be like, all right, fuck it, put your tents in here. Fuck it. This is we've just mowed the grass. This is going to be it's a safe place. We know where everybody's at. Like things could be like. I don't understand why you don't just fucking shift gears and be like, actually, now that we think about it, maybe we cleaned this place up. Go back.
It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. It doesn't have to be a whatever 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It can be both. You can have both things. There's so much space there, and there's so much opportunity there to be humane and to support our dog friends as well too. And frankly, I would guarantee you, our unhoused folks and neighbors in that encampment would tell you that they love their dogs, and they love dogs, and they want dogs to be able to run around and be free, and they want themselves to be able to run around and be free too. This is not about one or the other, right? Or prioritizing one, or putting dogs above humans or humans above dogs. This is about just everyone, like respecting everyone's space, but respecting the fact that, yeah, you're clearing out one species to make room for another species. Can't we all just get along and have space together? And can we have some sort of dignified space where folks can encamp? Because shit is that bad, right? Do we have to just keep pushing them along, moving them away from the streets where we want to have a press conference for 5 days? I don't understand how anyone thinks this is any sort of solution other than a solution to making your, press numbers and your favorables higher. I don't understand.
It's like and there, the dog park is a sign of gentrification, right? Like that is, it's nice to have a place specifically to take your dog. And there are some parks where you're not allowed to have your dogs off the leash, and dog parks are a place where you can take your dog off the leash. But like, there's no shortage of dog parks in San Jose already. Like, I just don't get it. Again, I just see this space. First of all, I was a little annoyed by the fact they were mowing the lawn with weed whackers. I'm like, could you just get a fucking riding mower and fucking like
they were mowing the weeds, Producer Dave.
Could just get a riding mower. My God, first of all, riding mowers are like it's fun to ride a riding mower. But I just can't imagine, like, I don't know, you clean this, you got the space all spiffied up and stuff, and now you're like, why don't you just let people set up their tents in there? I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, there's plenty of space there, and they could be doing this. They could have been setting up sanctioned encampments for many years, and people have proposed them, and they've been shot down because no one has the political will to do it. And we honestly don't have enough dog parks. Just as being a dog owner, our area town is just not very dog friendly. So we even rely on fields locally that aren't dog parks to be able to use for our dogs. But all that being said, we don't have housing for our people too, right? At the same time. So
people have lived and had dogs without the existence of dog parks for a very long time.
No, very much so. Very much so. I think and dogs need shelter too, frankly, and the unhoused have dogs. Like I said, so this is all just easily solvable. We have the land, we have the resources, we have the affluence. We can fix this tomorrow if anyone just had the freaking political will to stand up to John Q or Jane Q NIMBY, who just doesn't want it to happen in their backyard, city, whatever. They want it to happen somewhere else.
I could even see how like when you go to a campground, you like, even if it's free, you fill out a little form saying what campground you're on or whatever. Like if you have a sanctioned encampment, you fucking section everything off, and now people could get fucking mail, dude. People could, like, if they're living there like a medium term or whatever, they could get fucking mail. People would know where the fuck, they'd know where the fuck they're at. They'd have like some kind of quasi address, sort of. And
imagine that.
And then a community would form there. Like,
Producer Dave, now you're getting way too ahead of yourself. I mean, we need to deal with these folks who just think that the unhoused are criminals.
So we're going to move on to Get Your Shit Together. This is once again about Antioch.
Yeah, it's a double whammy actually here. So there's it's like one of those one step forward, two steps back kind of a thing. So I feel really bad for the mayor of Antioch. He's going to come up a couple times in this segment, but
so there
two stories from Antioch.
The city of Antioch is introducing a police oversight commission, but if I'm not mistaken, prior to now, I believe the Federal Bureau of Investigation was serving that role in some capacity.
I think they still are. This is sort of like the city's own, owning of themselves.
Antioch wants to rebuild trust between the community and its police department. It's creating its first ever police oversight commission. This comes as the city deals with the fallout of last year's racist text messaging scandal within the PD. Here's NBC's Pete Serratos.
It should be illegal for cops to text.
A gamut of experiences.
Antioch Mayor Lamar Hernandez-Storp says a police oversight commission has been long overdue, but it took recent events over the past year to get city officials on board.
After so many federal indictments, state charges, 2 investigations from the state of California, including the Attorney General's Office of the Antioch Police Department, these investigations related to racist text messaging that decimated our police numbers. It is very clear that we absolutely need an oversight.
The federal indictments, investigations, and the fallout from the racist text messaging scandal have put a stain on the Antioch Police Department. And today, the city took its first major step towards addressing accountability for the department by inaugurating its first ever police commission. The 7-member commission comes from a variety of backgrounds, ranging from community organizers to lawyers. It will be similar to other police commissions around the Bay Area, serving as a governing board to create accountability for the police department. Devin Williams is a longtime community organizer in Antioch and was selected as a member of the new commission. He believes the commission can help the community move forward and rebuild trust with the police department.
This is something that the community needs in order to move forward. We need a community, citizen-led commission such as this, made up of leaders who are well-versed in what the city needs.
While the specifics of the commission's duties still need to be hammered out, community leaders believe it's a step in the right direction.
In other words, the police are not going to be policing themselves, because that's what's been happening. The police have just been policing themselves.
The next steps for the commission will be to decide on leadership roles before holding public meetings. The mayor hopes the commission is up and running with those meetings as early as next month. In Antioch, Pete Serratos, NBC Bay Area News.
I mean, that's good, I suppose, but historically, don't these kinds of organizations have very little in the way of teeth?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the setup and the structure and the parameters and the purview and all those things. With any commission or committee like this, their ad hoc committee or task force that's set up by a city or a mayor, it all depends on what their intent is. If their intent is to just look good and try to restore trust in terms of we're doing everything we can, it's not going to have a lot of teeth. It'll have some recommendations. Everyone will feel good. They'll have a press conference. They'll release a report. They'll have cake, and then they'll move on. But as in the case in San Jose, at least, there's a task force that has issued tons of recommendations that hundreds actually, that the PD is actually obligated to begin to implement over time. So it can vary, but it's all about the elected leaders like the mayor here and how many teeth or how sharp of a teeth he wants to give to this group. But it could just be a show commission.
If this organization can't fire cops, then I think it's useless.
You're almost never going to see that kind of situation where you have a citizens commission or a community commission that's going to have that power. Because it's HR. It's HR. The reason why that they're able to stick it out is even the mayor and the electeds don't have the power to do that. Generally speaking, it's the chief or the department themselves. And then the council has oversight, right? That's just not going to happen, unfortunately.
But shit has gone so incredibly pear-shaped in Antioch that it might not be the worst place to give something like that a go.
No, not at all. Although I think it sounds like a lot of the folks that were in trouble are under investigation or indictment already. So this is more not the criminal side of things. This is really to clean up going forward. If anything, I think it seems like this is more of a forward-looking commission than a backward-looking commission. Like they're going to let what happened play out, the investigations and the trials play out, but they're looking at what are we going to do now to keep this from happening again, right? Or how we're going to weed this out going forward. So,
gotcha.
But I think to your point, and the easiest way to weed it out is to weed it out, right? Like get these fuckers, get the bad apples, quote unquote, out of the bunch before they spoil the whole bunch.
Right. So we're going to move on to more news in Antioch, and apparently, this library isn't going to be able to solve all the community's problems because it's going to close.
Well, they don't have enough cops anymore, so they've all been fired.
Here to have story time.
LaRon Richardson of Antioch drove up to the Antioch Library on East 18th Street.
I was really expecting, even though it was raining, that it was going to be happening, but it's really unfortunate to hear what's happening.
But he arrived to find the library is temporarily closed.
We do not take closing libraries lightly. It is something that we, try to avoid at all costs.
Public Information Officer Brooke Converse says on Friday afternoon, the Contra Costa County librarian made an emergency decision to close this location. She says over the past few months, the library has seen more and more incidents putting staff and patrons in danger.
Threats to staff and security personnel, drug activity and drug use, both in the library and on library property, sexual intercourse inside the library and outside the library.
Converse says,
see, Producer Dave, there's all sorts of stuff happening at the library.
Close a library for these reasons. It won't reopen until Tuesday, when it can bring on a second full-time guard. The library is also repairing its fence and updating its security camera system. The library says it alerted the city manager about this closing, but Antioch Mayor Lamar Hernandez Thorpe wrote a letter expressing his shock, saying, quote, according to our city administration, no one in the city of Antioch, including the police chief, were informed of any safety concerns by Contra Costa County regarding the library.
These kinds of incidents are not unique to Antioch. I want to make that clear that many of our libraries are dealing with an increase and an uptick in severe and dangerous incidents, and it's happening across the country at libraries.
The American Library Association has noted an alarming increase in acts of aggression towards library workers and patrons across the country.
It's really the choice of the...
Ooh, I read some wording in that where they chose not to fucking, the news chose not to fucking give the meat of that fucking letter.
We need to kind of band together to, help this place feel safe enough for the community.
During this closure, patrons will have to go to other county libraries to get resources like books and internet access. In Antioch, Alyssa Gord, NBC, Bay Area News.
Ooh, bad look at NBC, because the American Library Association wasn't talking about fucking in the library.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, so there's all sorts of stuff happening in all the libraries. There's sex happening in the libraries everywhere. Apparently, that's where you need to go. I always figured you go to the club or.
If others didn't see it, the letter that they showed, or the statement from the American Library Association, was talking about upticks in threats of violence to the libraries, oftentimes due to carrying books about queer people, Black history. Things probably like drag queen story hour happening at libraries. That was mentioned in that statement, and NBC Bay Area acted like they just didn't. They were. I think they're conflating two different issues here.
And in contrast to the library, their spokesperson too was talking about the sex in the bathrooms and people falling asleep in the used book section. And no, they weren't talking about the violence and violent threats against librarians either. And that is also a very real thing, having come from, like I said, a library background and knowing a lot of people in at least the local system. It's a thing. It absolutely is a thing. They do feel threatened. They do feel unsafe. Because like you said, these are librarians and volunteers, right? They're not equipped to deal with the kind of violent threats and or activities they might have to face on any given day in a city. So yeah, I think you're right there, folks. They choose, like local news usually does, they choose to focus on what they choose to focus on.
So we're going to move on to Downballot Watch, where we're probably going to be covering a lot of stuff with the upcoming primary election. And first, we're going to look at Santa Clara Measure B, which is really interesting because the voters are basically going to decide if the voters are going to decide. Let's see what NBC Bay Area has to say about this and what they leave out.
Changes could be coming to picking the city's top cop. Right now, Santa Clara is the only city in the state that still elects its police chief.
Next month, voters will decide on how to select a chief. Here's NBC's Ian Cole.
Santa Clara still lets voters decide on its police chief, but they can change that on March 5th. 3 city council members who say the process is outdated brought forward Measure B. If voters approve it, the city manager will instead appoint a police chief. Councilman Raj Jahal says the top cop gets paid over $500,000 a year in salary and benefits.
If we cities shelling out that much of money, we want somebody who can really professionally add value to the position he or she is holding. In last 6 of the 9 elections, there was only one candidate.
Under the current rule, the elected chief has to live within the city limits. Jahal argues it leaves a narrow list of candidates.
We have more than 150 officers. I think less than 10 live in the city of Santa Clara. So basically, we'll be picking up our next chief, if we have to have election, from those 10 people. And out of those, only 2 have management experience.
The nationwide search is a fallacy. There are 11 municipal police agencies in the Santa Clara County. Of those, 9 have chiefs that were appointed from within.
Current Santa Clara Police Chief Pat Nicolai opposes the measure and believes it should be someone who lives here.
I joke, my son's car was parked right across the street and had its catalytic converter stolen. So I know what's going on in the city of Santa Clara, and I know what affects the people. So when there's an issue, I can address it directly.
He's retiring at the end of his term this year, so Measure B doesn't affect him. But Nicolai believes residents should continue to elect the chief because he doesn't just answer to City Hall, but also to voters.
I think it's accountability and public safety. And really, public safety is what my job is all about.
On Measure B, a no vote keeps things the same. A yes vote transfers the power of selecting the next police chief to the city manager. In Santa Clara, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
I think this doesn't matter because I don't think there's, I would assume Santa Clara there's not a lot of crime there. And the police chief is not a whole lot to do.
Not really. I mean, a lot of folks think this is another proxy war between the 49ers and the anti-49ers folks at City Hall. And it very well could be. And it seems like it does break down along those lines. It has, to my understanding, the directly elected police chief hasn't, like you said, caused Santa Clara to fall into the great abyss anytime recently. So I don't see why we don't just let people keep continuing to choose their police chief. I don't think it's any more problematic than the city manager and the city council and some body of 7 people plus an administrator choosing who the person is that's going to be policing the entire city, right? And having to interact with the people. So it, who knows? Maybe it is the right way to go to elect your police chief. And like Chief Nicolai says, maybe it is better to have someone who's from the community. That's a pretty low number of officers living in the city, but not uncommon. In San Jose, I think, at least when I was doing more close work with police, it was something in the neighborhood of like half of the department, half of the officers did not live in San Jose or lived outside the area. As far as ways like Discovery Bay, Tracy, Sacramento even. So it's not uncommon at all just because this area is so ungodly high cost of living. And even with an officer's salary, it's hard to make it work so for a family. So we'll see what happens, but I don't see why you can't just keep electing your police chief. Why not? If you like it. Santa Clara's weird. They have their own power utility. They have a directly elected police chief. They have the 49ers in the stadium. It's just a weird city. So let them be. Let them be weird.
I don't know. I think it's, and I could be wrong here, but I doubt that the voters are generally going to be inclined to vote for something that takes the power away from themselves. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, 75%, according to polling, their POA is opposing the measure, and their polling says that 75% of people oppose it. So more than likely it will fail. But we'll see. Polling has been known to be wrong, especially like we said earlier, when it's a special interest.
Yep. But I think also the demographic of the people who turn out are going to be maybe more civically engaged, and those people are going to be more inclined to want to keep voting for the top cop or whatever.
Yeah, the people who love voting, right? that's people who vote in primaries in March. They love voting. So
you don't want to give them one. They're not going to vote to not vote for something.
No, God, no. I don't. Less power. I'll just stay home and have a sandwich. Anyway, well, up in San Francisco, the voters don't have that power. And one guy running for mayor, at least, says that he's going to take some action with the police chief on his own in his power as a supervisor, if he were, or a mayor, if he were to win. So let's find out what Mark Farrell has to say.
The race to become San Francisco's next mayor got a little more crowded Tuesday.
I am here today to officially announce the launch of my campaign for mayor of San Francisco.
Mark Farrell, a venture capitalist, is hoping to get his old job back. Back in 2018, Farrell, then a city supervisor, was appointed mayor after the death of Ed Lee. Now Farrell joins a race including current Mayor London Breed, Supervisor Asha Safai, and businessman and philanthropist Daniel Lurie. During a news conference, Farrell taking direct aim at Breed, blaming her for what he calls the city's decline post-pandemic. Farrell says if elected, one of his top priorities would be public safety. He vowed he would have a zero-tolerance approach to crime and would fire SFPD Chief Bill Scott.
We need a leader that inspires every single officer in our San Francisco Police Department. A leader of our police department that fights for the budget necessary to grow our police force once again and protect residents in every neighborhood.
Both SFPD and Mayor Breed pushed back against Farrell's remarks, touting their accomplishments in addressing some of the city's most pervasive problems. We caught up with Mayor Breed at a local Mardi Gras event Tuesday night.
Where have they been? We've been through global pandemics, uprisings, challenges in this city, and many of them sat and watched on the sidelines. But I and Chief Scott and other leaders of this city, we've been there dealing with the challenges.
During our conversation, Breed also highlighting the city's latest crime statistics, telling us about the work both she and Chief Scott have done to make the city safer. Breed says she remains the best person to lead the city into the future.
We have seen in the numbers we released for 2023 the lowest numbers we've had in 10 years, not including a global pandemic. Those things don't just happen because you sit on the sidelines and watch. They happen because you make it happen.
The San Francisco mayoral election will be held in November. In San Francisco, Tim Johns, ABC 7 News.
I don't know who the other I don't know who the city council person who's running, but we got Mayor London Breed. We'll call her Mayor Ed 210. You know, San Francisco's a bigger city. They got the advanced model. But the other two are a business leader, and then this dude's a fucking venture capitalist.
Yeah, he was a supervisor and was mayor, briefly appointed mayor. But yeah, just not a very fun posse out there running. I really can't find anyone I'm all that excited about. We'll see if the supervisor who's running is worth his medal, but well, yet to be seen.
I mean, purely vibes based. I am guessing Mayor Breed will probably be reelected, and by a pretty large margin, because it looks like there's no just even in the way the news described it, unless there's something I'm missing here, it doesn't look like there's a challenger with any clout. It doesn't seem like.
No, just a bunch of white dudes. And she's an incumbent. She's, I think, successfully pivoting herself, as I said earlier, from what could be the wrong track, danger zone, to being the change agent, right? She's pushing forward. You're sitting on the sidelines. We're trying to get things done. So yeah, I think she's in a strong position. I think she knows it. And she set herself up for success that way too, because when it comes to it, people who
also,
vote.
Why wouldn't that dude at a Mardi Gras party?
Oh, he was busy launching his campaign. I did love that, like the high level interview with the mayor happened at the Mardi Gras party while she's carrying an umbrella and sipping on a cocktail.
I mean, I think that's generally good optics for her, for people who might be inclined to not like her.
No,
right?
Fabulous optics for her. Fabulous.
Yeah. I mean, also that umbrella. I mean, that umbrella could have only looked better in the hands of a certain reporter named LaMonica, right?
Depending on what she was wearing.
Oh, it would have been. Well, come on.
It would have matched properly. It would have matched to the T. Yellow, greens, and purples for Mardi Gras for sure. All right. Well, we got one more story here on Downballot. We don't necessarily need to get into that candidate forum simply because it might take us over time, but we can get into it next week a little bit.
Or if it's I may run it actually. If it's I may run.
It's just like one. It's
during the
basically
post-game.
like one question. Yeah, it's like one question. Hearing the responses from the candidates, you'll get a sense of who they all are.
Okay, what do we got going on in Oakland?
Well, as y'all know, there's a recall effort happening against the mayor and the DA. But first, the mayor's recall effort is kicking off, and apparently they had a big event to start collecting their signatures. So we're going to find out more about how that's progressing and if they are going to hit the ballot this year.
And real quick before we start, this is just like real anecdotal, but there was a guy out in front of the Safeway here in the burbs where I live collecting signatures for the recall, and I had a little extra time, and it was raining a little bit, so I was like, "Oh, I'll hang out under this overhang and do a bit of journalism, a bit of person on the street journalism." And he was trying to get people to sign the recall petition, and the overwhelming response is, "I have no idea who the DA is."
Well, there you go. Right? They barely know enough to vote every 4 years in the DA, let alone go through a recall effort. Anyway, so this is about Mayor Sheng Tao. A lot of the same people, a lot of the same players involved in both recalls. So we'll find out how they're doing right now.
In Oakland, people gathered for a rally to kick off a signature collection event, all aimed at recalling Mayor Sheng Tao. NBC Bay Area's Christy Smith spoke to organizers about what they say she should do and why others disagree with plans for another Bay Area recall.
Today was our kickoff rally.
Brenda Harbin-Forte is a leader of the effort to recall Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao. She showed up near Jack London Square today to help launch the signature gathering phase of the recall. They need to collect 25,000 signatures to get this on the November ballot.
I just got tired of the downfall of Oakland. I got tired of the crime, the rising crime, which is directly related to the firing of Chief Armstrong.
The retired Alameda County Superior Court judge sees it this way.
Every time there's a car break-in, every time there's somebody can't walk home, even from a bank, all of those things came together for me. And I cannot just sit back and say nothing.
But supporters of the mayor have been vocal too. They held a rally outside City Hall just last month. And today we caught up with this neighbor near Jack London Square.
I am concerned. I'm concerned about all the things that they're talking about, but I don't think that that's the fault of the people that are. I don't think that. I give the benefit of the doubt to the public servants that are in that we just voted in, that just got the mandate from the people of Oakland.
Oh, I like him.
Ben Bunch does not think choosing a recall is the answer.
But I think when we do things like these recall campaigns, that doesn't help. That distracts from that. That gets in the way of them doing the work, because now you're constantly running. You're constantly on the defensive.
In Oakland, Christy Smith, NBC Bay Area News.
Yep.
Do it on the street with the right take.
So the more I learn about this, the more I do believe that the decision to fire the police chief was a fuck up.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from or how that. I mean, it had to be some sort of political thing behind the scenes, going back a long ways. Who knows? But yeah, that was a major gaffe, and what they call an unforced error in politics, where you didn't need to go there, and it created an opening, right? All that a rat or any sort of pest needs is an opening, and it could be a tiny little thing, but they can squeeze through it, and they will just cause all sorts of havoc for you. So beware.
The guy's a cop, but my impression is that he was pretty popular in Oakland.
He was, as far as I know, he was engaging with the community. People loved him. Oakland has a very substantial black population. Hello, heads up. And he was black, and you are API, and you API woman, you fired the black man. You did not expect that to become a thing. Come on now, let's be real.
I don't know if his press hits of community interaction were just window dressing, right? But maybe even if it was, it just seems to me that it was working, because his firing comes up over and over and over again on our ballots, or on our down ballot show.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He just seems like he was a popular guy, and like anti-police and anti-authority sentiment in the Oakland Berkeley area runs pretty deep. So if you got a fucking police chief that everybody doesn't hate, unless the guy's just completely fucking corrupt or whatever, I'd say fucking it's a good move for the mayor to keep that person, even if they don't like agree with their politics or their policies or whatever, because that you can even like trot that out. You can be like, hey, I don't always agree with this police chief here, but my voters, y'all seem to like this guy, so you bring him up on stage and have him talk about, me and the mayor, we don't see it eye to eye, but we're working on these problems and here's what we're trying to do. Like, I don't understand why you don't do that, because that's the outreach to the people that didn't vote for you. The people who didn't vote for you, who, again, like the fairly popular police chief. And it's just like, that was just like you said, an unforced error. Unless there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But at this point, it's become such a big enough issue that I think the beans would have been spilled if that was the case.
She also could have just been, playing to the wrong political winds, or just misread the tea leaves. It happens. It happens a lot. And perhaps, she read the police commission, I think, was highly responsible for making the suggestion or advising him being let go, and now they're the ones suggesting he should come back too. So there's obviously some factions and some division that's at play here, and I think the mayor is just trying to placate everyone, and in doing so ends up pissing off everyone, which is sort of how the political game gets played sometimes.
What about the oops and move on strategy? Be like, oops, I'd like to actually offer, I'd like to find a way to bring this guy back. Actually, I had,
Well, she could have. She had an opportunity. The police commission actually reviewed new applicants or candidates and proposed him as one of the three. Remember, a few weeks back, maybe a month ago, and she rejected all of them, including him. So she had an opportunity to save face and to say mea culpa and bring him back in, but no.
Yeah, I feel like oops is just highly underrated.
Absolutely. From the very beginning, Richard Nixon could tell you that, right? If he just said oops from the very start, people are very forgiving. At the end of the day, especially Americans, we're very, very forgiving of our leaders and forgetful. So yeah, anytime you see someone just say oops and move on, they usually have a political life for them sometime down the road, right? And it's the ones who hold out and refuse to do that and try and stick it out. They're the ones that end up going down in flames, and not having any escape hatch or parachute.
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be some this is either just a massive fuck up, or there's something we don't know that is. There could, in fact, maybe if there's something we don't know, and I'm just really fucking pure speculation here, but if there's something we don't know, it may be one of those mutually assured destruction kind of things, right?
There's absolutely something we don't know here, because you're right. It's not optically good. It doesn't make a lot of political sense, and it's leading to problems for her. I think she'll beat the recall, but it's just causing way too many problems that she doesn't need to deal with.
I think she'll beat the recall because people don't care enough to recall this person.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, yeah, I don't think it'll be on most recalls aren't beat because the person who is up for recall is just such a magnanimous public servant. A lot of times they have done something stupid and they've opened the door for someone to do to come after them. But yeah, they're rejected because people don't like recalls. They don't like this. They, like you said, run. If you're so pissed off, run. Every 4 years, it's called an election. Run, and or find someone to run against her, right, and challenge her. A lot of these folks are also upset because they lost to her because their candidate did not win in the race. So in that ranked choice race. So there's a lot of bitterness and sort of loserness happening here too.
And if I'm not mistaken, the guy who lost was pretty graceful about his loss. Is that correct?
Yeah,
he wanted like a recount. He wanted to deal with some like procedural stuff, but overall the guy was pretty graceful, right?
Yes, and you should be in that space. Let your supporters go cray cray, and go and pop off. But he did everything right. So it's just upsetting that this is allowed to fester.
Anyway, we got a car versus vehicle, or vehicle versus structure, but in a weird twist from what I'm seeing here. It looks like the car did hit a structure, but then the structure hit the car.
Correct. It was a structure that could fall. So when it hit the structure fell on it. So the structure fought back, basically.
And I think I don't know. I think this could have been in winners and losers because nobody won. And because this is on our docket, I imagine nobody had any serious injuries.
No, yeah, as far as I could tell.
Show you a post that the Pittsburgh Police Department had been talking about here. There was a car that crashed into what looks like this big utility pole, collapsing on top of it. They say the roadways around here will reopen at 1 p.m. later today. That's several hours of a closure there. They're calling it a major traffic collision. This is near Harbor Street, near Small World Park. They're asking you stay away from this area. And I'll show you the maps here to show you exactly where they kind of want you to avoid. So
that's a whole area.
East Bay here. You see all the incidents all over the place. We'll zoom in here to the Pittsburgh area, just off of Highway 4. They say the north and southbound lanes are closed between Atlantic Avenue and East Leland Road, and then the eastbound lanes are blocked at Presidio Lane. Again, it's going to stay that way until about 1 o'clock this afternoon, so that is part of your commute. If you need to get to Highway 4, you'll need to find another way to do that. We're going to check in, and
then it got cut. I swear to God.
It's a small world, after all.
Well, that was the show. I don't know if we learned anything, but but that was an interesting car versus structure, because the car hit the structure, then the structure hit the car.
If we learned anything, I'd be really worried about this show and the future of humanity.
We sometimes learn things, but usually if we learn things, strangely enough, it's on a Wednesday or Thursday, which is odd.
And I randomly Discord chat with producer Dave about the thing I learned on Thursday morning when I wake up hungover.
All right, well, we're going to let you go ahead and close the show out.
Well, alrighty then, producer Dave. Thank you as always, listener and viewer. We do this for you and only you. Please keep making this the 9th best local news podcast in all of California. Download it on the podcatcher of choice, but always try to watch on Twitch, because the visuals and the videos make all the difference. You're not really going to get as much out of it if you're listening only. We really want you to get vaxxed and wear a mask. You don't need to wear pants. Because it's totally optional. We're going to leave you with some audible smoke. I invite you to stay tuned for public comment, and to stay tuned next week for Downballot at 7:30 Pacific. We do it every Tuesday night, except when we don't. So, producer Dave, peace out. Have a great week.
You too.
Public comment.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink, spark it if you got it, and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside, motherfucker, suckers is rocking me. And outside shit, we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, the sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he liked jamming, and he hope he liked jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is the jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is the jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, what we want is the jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is the jam. So sit